Hey FlossTube, it is Thursday, February 4th here in sunny Mesa, Arizona. Max wants to say hello. Hi Max, all right. And it is time for an update. What? He's left me alone all day, and as soon as I sit down to do this, of course, he wants attention. No, that's my drink, not yours. I love you. Okay, sorry. Put him down. He was getting... So it's Thursday, February 4th. It's like 70 degrees here in Phoenix. This is why we live in Arizona. We had our week of winter, about 10 days. It was pretty cold a couple weeks ago, down into the 40s and 50s during the day. That usually lasts about a week or so. We get a ton of rain, and then winter is over for us. So now we're in the 70s, so essentially we're good for a couple of months. Everything otherwise, everything's the same. Zachary's had a couple. He's already done 2 COVID tests for this year, both negative. They were precautionary. My daughter Kylie had to do 1 because of a potential exposure, negative. I haven't done any. Mike hasn't done any. We're both working. I actually start a new client. I'm in the midst of starting a new project, so, which is nice. I'm ready for a new project. Work's been kind of meh, doing fill the time stuff, so. But I have been doing a lot of stitching, and I've been doing a lot of reading. And my piles were overflowing, so it was time to actually sit down and do a video today. All right. So, since we last spoke, there's going to be a lot of since we last spoke. Since we last spoke, I have actually finished a couple of small things. Both were starts and finishes. On Sunday, I participated in the 25th anniversary Acorns and Threads Acorn Gathering that they hold in January. This year they did it through Zoom on Sunday the 31st. It was just the one day, and there were 180 people, I think, total. So it was a big group. Some familiar faces, which is great. Some familiar voices. Lots of new folks as well. As part of the gathering, we got a chart from Frony Ritter Designs called Acorn Gathering. And here's the chart. We got all the stuff, including all the finishing materials, and I finished it. So here it is. Acorn Gathering 2021. It's DMC on Smoky Pearl linen. There was an option to have masks on the squirrels, but I chose to leave them unmasked. So I started and finished that on the 31st, which was great. And earlier that month, I started and finished Blackbird Designs stocking. So these came out in 2009. I've had them in my stash ever since, but this year I'm going to stitch at least 1 from every book. At least that's my plan. So I got January's done. I'm stitching these from stash. When I first bought the book, so here's the first one. This is the Winter Carnation stocking. There you go. When I first bought the book, Attic had an option to get small pieces of linen with each. So I got linen. For some reason, I missed a couple of months. I don't think February and March had linen with them for whatever reason. I may have joined late. But January, I got 3 pieces, and they work for January, February, March. So this was my January Winter Carnation. It's on 40 count. I'm sure it's a Lakeside because that's what they like to do. But I have no idea what the color is. They weren't individually labeled. This is a real pale green. You can kind of see the green. I'm going to do all of these from my stash. This is a mix of called for and not called for, just whatever looked good. I'll try to keep track better next time. So those were my 2 finishes for January, both starts and finishes, but that's okay. It's a finish, right? So I started out the year with 2 for January, small. Now, I've also had a couple non-finish accomplishments, right? So things that worked that don't necessarily a finish yet, but definitely an accomplishment. Like we talked about, Julie McConnell from Reflections, Framing and Stitching started a challenge on January 1st to do 25 stitches per day on a project. So she calls it the 25 by 7 project. 25 stitches a day. Well, this was my project that I chose for 25 stitches a day, the front part only. I'll put a picture here of what it looked like on January 1st before my first 25 stitches. And here's what it looks like today. This is 25. To be honest, it's probably more like 35 or 40 stitches per day on average. I like to just do one length of whatever color. And the first thing I did was I focused on finishing his hat, and now I'm just working my way down, and I'm just doing color complete. So I've completed the white. I completed the lightest blue down here. I've completed the white. I'm working on this little gray blend that's in here. I have to do the other side over here. And so now I'm just going to do a color complete, working my way down. So, but that's pretty good progress for 35 days. So we just finished our 5th week today, and I posted my daily pictures in the Facebook group today. So he's actually, I don't think it'll take another 35 days to finish him, but we'll see. So yeah, so I'm very happy with that. And it's just as frustrating as I expected it to be. So doing the 1 length of thread per day is perfect. I can handle 1 length of thread on this plastic canvasy stuff. So, but that's good. Progress is made. So I am moving along nicely with that. So Coke Zero. All right. So the other thing that I managed to do in January was catch up on my Dark Queen of the Seas from Autumn Lane Stitchery. I hadn't done December, which is her hair and face, and then January was some kelp, seaweed. But I finished it. So I'm caught up, and I've now started the February part as well. So here's where she is now. So I did her hair in the ombre blue to purple with the blue eyes. I did the seaweed, which was January's part, the seaweed and coral, and now I'm working on the ball of magic up in her hand. That light blue is a treasure braid, so it's got a little bit of a sparkle. So we had to make another decision this month as to whether to use this ball of magic or whether to use a skull. And I really like the skull, but I needed blue stitches, so I went for the ball of magic. I do intend to stitch the skull on his own, though, and give him orange highlights so he could be Bob from the Dresden Files. Anyway, so February part is started, so I will hopefully by this weekend have that all caught up. So those are my 2 big non-finish accomplishments for the month of January, which I was happy with. I did stitch every day on 25 by 7, and I caught up my Dark Queen sale, so I was good. All right, so I had a few starts that we talked about, and I started basically what I said I was going to start. On January 1st, I started Oh Joyous Day from Blackbird Designs. This is on 40 count Lakeside linen in a color called Swampswerfine, which was an attic exclusive color. Using most of the called for threads. I did have one thread that I didn't have. Can you guess which thread it is that I didn't have from the called for? Can you guess? Yeah, that pear is looking really, really green in the middle. That was the only gas that I didn't have, was the green, and that's the DMC. And I haven't decided if I'm gonna if I'm going to leave it or not. But anyway, it's a party pair, right? What can I say? So that's where I got to. That was about 5 days. This is about 5 days of work in January. So I'm very happy with that start. I do plan to pick it up again in February, and my goal will be to finish off the row, right? I want to stitch on a little bit each month until it's done. So, but I did get that started. The other start that we had talked about when we last spoke was a restart for me for Stroke of Midnight. I did restart Stroke of Midnight on New Year's Eve, and I worked on it that night, and I worked on it the next day, and I put in about 700 stitches. So I was feeling pretty good. Until I took it off the Q-Snap and realized that I had started it. I turned the fabric 90 degrees. Yep. I turned the fabric 90 degrees, and then some quick measuring. It wasn't going to fit on the piece that I cut. So I had to rip it all out and start it again. So I started it again and got a little farther this time. And marked the top of my fabric. So this is a restart of Stroke of Midnight. Picture here. Needle minders are being very attractive. Hold on one second. Let's break them apart. Okay, here we go. No, stop it. Stop it. All right, so here we are, Stroke of Midnight. So I still started in the upper left corner, even though now it wasn't stuff I hadn't stitched before, but it was close enough. All right, so there it is in upper left corner. I am doing kind of the parking method. I did get some nice sulky sliver to do a little bit of gridding. I'm more just basically mapping in the columns more than anything else, but there it is. That's a pretty good start. I gotta say, that's more than the 700 that I did on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. So I moved forward. And there it is. I'm very happy with that. I'm surprised. Well, there's not a lot of confetti in this upper corner, so it moves pretty fast. There's only 9 pages total in the pattern, and by the time I get to the bottom of this, I have this big green bush that is totally confetti. But a little bit each month, a couple of days each month is my goal. So I haven't done any yet in February, but it's on my plans. But yeah, so there's where we're at. Not bad. Not bad at all. Very happy with that progress. And it was just nice. It was so nice to stitch on a good old-fashioned TW. So the other start that I had was the Linen and Threads stitch along for 2021. I did show you my threads. I don't have them pulled out here, but it was essentially the navy sulky is the main color, and then I have a half a dozen other colors for accents. So January was all of the borders on the piece. I didn't stitch all the borders. I stitched enough I made a guess as to where I thought the February chart was going to be. I guessed correctly. Hallelujah. So I only did enough borders to get the February frame in. So here's the borders, and then here's February. And there's February. Let's see if you can tell. So the vast majority of this is navy blue. The diamonds and then the inside of the border is a dark purple. I've seen some tremendous colorful versions in the Facebook group. It's amazing what people are doing. I'm going to stick with primarily the navy is the monochrome, and then only sort of put in a single one, maybe two. For February, it was just the one. I'll put just one accent color in per month. I have some thoughts as to what I'm going to do. Again, it helps to see the squares, but that's okay. So this is all done, like I said, the navy, which is a hint of purple accent, so I can still get that primarily monochrome look. So That was good. A couple of days. About 1,000 stitches. Alright. So then the other thing that I worked on just a little bit is Ann Morrison. So here's Ann Morrison. This is a traditional stitch along, and they have it broken down to complete in a year. I'm behind, whatever, whether I complete it or not in a year, it doesn't matter to me. So I'm doing it on 45 count jersey cream using 103 silk, and here's where we are so far. So since in January I basically started the second and third rows and the dividers in between, so not bad. It's about a third of the way across, I guess. So again, couple 3 days a month, that's all I'm looking at, and until the WIPCO square gets called that says catch up all your sales, and then I'll have to catch it up. But that's okay for now. For now, progress is progress when I'm liking it. Alright, now speaking of WIPCO, the numbers that were called, I shared my plans for the numbers that were called in January. One was to have a page finish, and I chose Anniversaries of the Heart, January, to do as a page finish, right? So here's the square, the original chart, right? And I did finish. This is 40 count Oaken by Picture-This Plus. I'm doing 1/2 with most of the called for, but with some fairly liberal substitutions. So here's my January block. Most of this is truly what's called for. It's either the original call for or it is the recommended DMC. I'm only using a couple of DMCs. Most of them are called for, or I've converted them to a different brand. So for example, in the house, let's see if let me get this folded just a little better. In the house, there's two big substitutions that I made on this block. The first was the house, so the color of the house, not the windows, but the house. I'm using a color and cotton for that. That was very similar to the original Gast. It's not quite as dark as what's in the model photo, but it's very similar to what the current version of that floss is. And then the other one that I changed out is the peacock. Right? I have a rose gold peacock, which is a color and cotton color. I'm not a big peacock fan, so the fact that it's not blue, whatever. I actually really like the rose gold. He's very interesting, so he's my special peacock. I did personalize the block for my grandfather, just like we talked about last time. EJB are his initials. Fun fact, the J doesn't stand for anything. It's literally the letter J in his name. So EJB, and then his birth date, January 24th. Official. That's the right date. So I'll put that in. So yeah, January, all done. And then I did get a little bit of February border done, but it's part of plans. We'll talk about that in a minute. The other WIPCO square was to work on 10 days on an existing WIP, and I chose Fortunate Traveler as my existing WIP. So here's where it is. Here's where I started. I made a ton of progress in 10 days. So the first bit, and I'm going to show them separately. The first bit is I finished stretch at the bottom. I stitched him, I finished him and back stitched him. He's all done. I also worked up in some of the letters there. You can see the beginning of the verse, right? And then I also started on the upper scene with the dragon and the man. So I got a good start on that upper scene. So only stitching in there, no back stitching yet. I am kind of doing it as a pseudo, obviously you can see I'm doing it kind of pseudo parking, but I'm going not only vertical but horizontal as well, just depending upon where the colors take me. So pretty good though. And again, using the parking, it's like made for a TW. It's made. So overall, here's where we are. Just stretch on the bottom. So I have to finish the upper seam, the border, and the words. The inner border around the seam. The outer border is completely done, except for beads. So yeah, good progress. Very good progress. One of the reasons, so that marked off 2 squares on my whip go board. Woohoo! I completed my January calls. One of the reasons that I made so much good progress, or that helped keep focus for those 10 days, was that I joined Magical Stitches again. I know I had said in my last video that I wasn't doing any challenge groups, and then I found out that Magical Stitches was reading Percy Jackson this year, which is one of my favorite young adult series, and one that I had already been thinking about rereading anyway, so it all kind of worked out. So I did rejoin Magical Stitches second week of February, and we'll continue. Now, that being said, I'm going to work my plans, whip go, all that stuff into Magical Stitches. Magical Stitches not going to drive my plans, but we'll see. So we'll see how long that goes. Speaking of plans, let's talk a little bit about plans for February. Push this over here. Pulled everything out of the bags and stuff today. All right, so plans for February. So we've got our had the 2 whip go draws. So my first whip go draw was to finish a whip that I started prior to 2020. Lots to choose from there. But the one I picked is Love Letters by Primrose. I thought it was appropriate for February, right? I started this in 2010, so it certainly fits the pre-2020. It's on a 40 count magnolia linen, and here's where we're at. It desperately needs an iron, but that's okay. Here's where we're at. I have the outer border done. I have the inner border done. I actually have some of that. You can just barely see the yellow, the bottom and that yellow border there. That's why it got put away, was the yellow on yellow stitching. It's like white on white, but we're going to do it and we're going to get it done. So that will be my first whip go goal. The second one was to start a new design by a designer that I haven't stitched before. And so for that one, we're going to do Heartstring Sampleries Sewn in Friendship. I've never stitched a heartstring samplery, though I have several of them in the stash. So. And I have it all kitted, ready to go. So that's the whip go plans. Otherwise, I have February's stocking. I'm going to do the samplery one with the letters. And I have another small piece of Lakeside something. And then I'm going to use this Silken Colors in the burgundy. It's got just a little bit of variegation. It calls for General Arts cherry bark, but the cherry bark that I have, number one, I'm using in Anniversaries of the Heart, but it's also not variegated. It's just a super dark red. So I'm going to use the silk instead. Finish off the February piece of Dark Queen of the Seas. I'm going to do that. That's my plan. Do the February block on Anniversary of the Heart. Put a few more days into Fortunate Traveler and Stroke Midnight. And I need an ornament, so I have ornaments that I need to do, and so that's I'm going to work that in somehow. So those are the plans for February. I am using my 24 Hours Cross Stitch monthly pages to kind of pencil in. I keep track of how many stitches I'm doing on my Nutcracker, and then I've got a little bit of things penciled in, so to work on. I also keep a track of my Magical Stitches homework. So what else? Oh, books. Oh, stash. So I got a few things in this month, not very much. I got my Silk of the Month from Silks for You, which is a beautiful set of pastels. Absolutely gorgeous. I got a piece of fabric that I ordered back in October. Apple Harvest 32 count Belfast. It's a nice green. It's for Autumn Lane Stitchery's Autumn Town picture here. The green on that particular design is fabric, so that's why I needed a green fabric. That was what was called for. So I got that. I got the Stony Creek. I really like the Stony Creek Fabric of the Month series that started in January. It's called Tropical Spirit. Here's the whole design. So January was Renew, February is Love, Cherish, and Believe. I really like these. So I got the January one, and I've ordered February. I usually try to get since the chart is free, I tend to just, whatever beads or charms go with it, that becomes the thing that I pay for to justify my shipping. So January I received, February's on order. I'm not going to do it on the banding. I'm going to just do them 4x4 on a piece of 36 count linen as soon as I get the desire to start something. I did a Mad for Minders order. Percy Jackson drove this, so I got some Greek coins. This is Apollo, and it's a painting. It's got Apollo and the gods on it. Cinderella needle minder seemed appropriate for Stroke of Midnight, and then I can always use another red queen. Always. Never have too many red queens. And then Por favor. I bought the sampler cake. Por favor. I got that. I ordered this beautiful project bag from Linda Jo, Pretty Southern. Woohoo! And I've got ornament stuff that I'm putting in. So this will track my ornament stitching through the year. So needed that. I have to support the baby making process. I also won a giveaway, which totally never happens for me, but I won a giveaway off Minnie Gray's All X's channel. She was giving away 2 Funko Pops. And so I got the child with Frog. So I was very excited because I love The Mandalorian, but I won a giveaway. I never win giveaways. So I need to get a Mandalorian pop to go with him. And then the final bit of stash that I have is I joined a Block of the Month. This is quilting, English paper piecing, and I got my first kit. So this is the quilt. There's the total quilt. It's all Tula Pink fabrics. It's called Smitten, and it's all English paper pieced. So I just got it this week, so I haven't even, other than taking everything out and putting it in the project bag that came with it, I haven't done anything else. But these are the first month's fabrics. Lots of nice purples and blacks. I'm very excited. So this will be, some weekend something. I'll show the blocks as I finish them, obviously. It's a year-long, stitch long. This was the first month. Okay, so that's it for stitching. Reading. Finished a number of books. I'll have pictures, cover pictures up here. Since I don't read, for the most part, I don't read actual books. I read them on my Kindle. I have a Kindle. This is a Kindle Oasis, so which I love. Or I listen to them as an audiobook. All right, so what I finished in January. I made progress on the Great Library series. I was in the second book of the series when we talked at the end of December. I'm now on the last book of the 5-book series. So I finished Paper and Fire, Ash and Quill, Smoke and Iron. It's a fun series. It's a young adult type series. The Great Library of Alexandria. I mean, it's fun. It goes quick. The other thing I finished was my reread of Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. I also finished the second book last night, Court of Mist and Fury. I'll start the third book, Court of Wings and Ruin. I technically started it last night. I read the first paragraph. I like reading it. I found that I'm enjoying it much more when I'm reading it myself rather than listening to the audiobook. It's very good. The first book is quite good. I really enjoyed the first book. The beginning of the second book, I had a couple of times where I wanted to smack the main character, but I got past. You get past that, and once I got past halfway, I didn't want to smack her anymore. Well, one time, but that's okay. It was good. And let me tell you, there's a couple of characters in there. Oh my gosh, he's cracked my top 5 book boyfriend list, which we'll talk about another time. But yeah, I have a new entry in that top 5 book boyfriend. Whoo boy, he's a good one. All right, and then I also finished Clanlands, which is the Sam and Graham behind the scenes of the new TV show Men in Kilts that's coming on Starz next month. I think it's next month. So it's very funny. So currently reading Sword and Pen, which is the 5th book in the Great Library series by Rachel Kane. This is the final book in the series. Things are wrapping up. Court of Wings and Ruin, as I already mentioned. And then I started Sword of Destiny. I'm not going to even attempt the name. I'll put it down here. Sword of Destiny is the second prequel of the Witcher series. So if you look at the entire series of, I think it's like 6 or 7 books now, this is the second book. It's considered a prequel to the main Witcher novel. And it's a series of... So The Last Wish was the first one. Kind of funny. And it was more like short stories. And then Sword of Destiny is very similar. It's kind of short story-ish before you get into the first book of the Witcher series. But I'm listening to this. The narrator is awesome. And then, once I finish The Great Library, I'll start my Percy Jackson reread as part of Magical Stitches. So I'll be doing Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief this month. I've read that. Actually had the book because my kids have read it as well. And I've listened to the audiobook. The audiobook's okay, but I'll probably just read it on my Kindle. It'll be some of my nightly reading. I have been keeping my Goodreads site up to date with currently reading as well as with my 2021 reads, and Court of Thorns and Roses I put in my recommended shelf. So I'll put a link to my Goodreads account below where you can see not only everything that I'm currently reading, but you can also see recommendations as well as other favorites. So I'll put that link if you're interested. And that's it. That's all I got. So I don't even know how long this is, but about 35 minutes. Okay. So have a wonderful day. Hope your February goes super awesome. It's a short month this year, but it's 4 complete weeks, which is kind of fun. 4 Monday to Sunday weeks. Kind of fun. different. I will be stitching. I'll be working. I won't be traveling, but it is what it is. Hope to see you around. Thanks again for spending the time to watch the video. Love your comments. Love to hear from you, and have an awesome day. Thanks.